In Australia, foreign tourists Greg and Heather arrive at the pier, excited for a cage diving tour that promises them the thrill of swimming with sharks. A vendor named Dave warns them that on the last trip, a shark bit off a college kid's groin, but they laugh it off and don't believe a word. Right then, tour guide Tucker shows up and starts questioning the duo. He quickly learns that nobody even knows they're there, and he teases them cruelly for it. Soon they board his boat, and during the ride, Tucker shares chilling tales of his near-death encounters with sharks. He brags that he has been swimming with them since childhood and even shows off a huge scar on his body. Once they reach the perfect spot, Tucker tosses buckets of chum into the water to lure the beasts. Heather grows nervous, trembling when she sees a fin slice through the surface. It's enough to make her want to back out. Tucker tries to calm her with meditation, but suddenly he bursts into the baby shark song. At first, she's stunned by his strange behavior, but soon she's laughing and feels at ease again. The pair enters the cage and Tucker lowers them into the water. Sharks swarm around them, their teeth flashing in every direction. Heather panics, but Greg quickly comforts her, and together they marvel at the terrifying beauty of the predators. Moments later, they're back on deck, Heather glowing with excitement. But in a shocking twist, Tucker suddenly pulls out a knife and plunges it into Greg. Heather screams in horror as Tucker tosses his body overboard like trash. The next day, American surfer Zephyr enjoys the crashing waves at the beach. Later, at a grocery store, she overhears Moses asking for jumper cables, but the store is out. He turns to her for help and she lies, saying she doesn't have any. She buys a cheap slushie, but secretly hides a stolen tub of ice cream inside the cup. On her way to the van, Moses threatens to expose her theft unless she gives him a ride. Trapped, Zephyr reluctantly agrees. During the drive, Moses won't stop talking, irritating Zephyr until she snaps and tells him to shut up. When they finally find his car, she notices his surfboards, and the two unexpectedly bond over their love of surfing. Moses even admits he never would have snitched on her to the cashier. They jumpstart his car using her van, and as the radio comes alive, they discover they share the same taste in music. That night, things heat up between them in Zephyr's van outside Moses' house. In the middle of the fun, Moses playfully throws her fin key out the window. Afterward, they share secrets, but the next morning, while Moses is inside making breakfast, Zephyr suddenly drives away with the van. At the beach, Zephyr prepares to surf but realizes she left her fin key behind. Searching nearby, she startles a truck owner. It's Tucker. With a sly grin, he offers her a spare key and praises her bravery for surfing alone at night. After he leaves, Moses texts her asking why she vanished. She claims she just wanted to catch early waves, but she hesitates when he asks to join her. Without warning, Tucker ambushes her, covering her head with a bag. She thrashes and fights, but he holds tight until she passes out. He injects her with something, tapes her mouth, crams her into a surfboard case, and loads her onto his truck. At the pier, Dave's dog growls furiously, but Tucker drags her onto his boat and locks her away. Hours later, Moses finds Zephyr's abandoned van. He tries calling her phone, but it rings from inside the vehicle. Meanwhile, Zephyr wakes up handcuffed to a bed in a filthy room with Heather. They share a single bucket for relief. She screams for help, but only Tucker hears her. He savors her cries while eating breakfast. On the wall, she notices a woman's name scratched into the wood, a chilling sign that Tucker has done this many times before. Heather confesses that no one will come looking for her, and Zephyr admits she's in the same hopeless situation. On land, Moses rushes to the police about the abandoned van. But since he doesn't know Zephyr's full name, the cops refuse to take the report. Back on the boat, Heather sobs about never seeing her mother again, regretting ignoring her mother's pleas not to take a gap year. Zephyr reveals her dark past foster care, juvenile detention, and her desperate escape to Australia. To lighten the crushing mood, she cracks a joke, making Heather laugh through tears. Then Zephyr notices Heather's bikini top has underwire. Heather tosses it over, and Zephyr works furiously to pick the lock. Just as freedom seems close, Tucker enters with sandwiches and water. He sits uncomfortably close, rambling about predators, and even dares to taste Zephyr's sweat before leaving. Zephyr resumes working, but suddenly her vision spins. The water was drugged. She drops the wire, Heather collapses, and Tucker returns to confiscate the tool before Zephyr also passes out. When Zephyr wakes, she's chained to a chair on deck. Tucker has set up a camera and blinding lights while Heather dangles helplessly from a crane. He preaches that God isn't in heaven but in the sea, claiming sharks give him life. He cruelly snips a lock of Heather's hair before lowering her toward the water. She screams in terror as the sharks rip her apart within seconds, while Tucker records every second with twisted joy. Zephyr cries out in horror as Tucker calls it, the best show on earth. Back in her prison cell, she carves her own name and Heather S. into the wall only to discover dozens more hidden beneath the paint. Later, Tucker drunkenly dances to his recordings, labeling a tape with Heather S. name and storing it among a cupboard full of other victims' tapes. From here, the nightmare spirals into Zephyr's desperate fight for survival. She uses broken scraps to outwit Tucker, suffers brutal injuries, and battles him face-to-face in a terrifying showdown. In the shocking finale, the massive shark Tucker worship turns on him. It drags him into the sea and tears him apart as Zephyr watches in disbelief. With every ounce of strength, Zephyr fires a flare into the sky, begging for help. She clings to Moses, who lies unconscious and bleeding. Please wake up. She cries desperately. Finally his eyes open, and he whispers, I knew it. Giving Zephyr one last glimmer of hope as rescue draws near.